You think you can just stand there?
Ma'am, I didn't.
No excuses. You ruined my morning.
The man in the navy blue peacoat didn't raise his voice. He didn't step back either. He just stood there, coffee dripping down his white shirt, the heat still stinging his chest. The woman across from him held the empty paper cup like a trophy. Her friends behind her were already laughing. He looked at her, calm, steady. Then he said the line that would echo in her nightmares for years. "I hope this moment was worth your entire future." She laughed again, louder this time. She had no idea who she just poured scalding hot coffee on. No idea that the quiet man with the kind eyes and the soaked shirt owned the building she was standing in, and the coffee shop behind her, and the company that signed her paycheck. If you love stories where karma comes back with a name tag and a security badge, hit that like button and comment down from where you are watching today. Marcus Webb woke up at 4:47 a.m. like he had every morning for the past 19 years. Not because an alarm clock told him to, because his body knew. His body remembered the days when waking up early meant the difference between eating and starving. He lived in a modest two-bedroom house on the edge of Portland, Oregon. The house cost him $240,000 in 2015. His neighbors drove used Hondas and Toyotas. Marcus drove a 2012 Ford F-150 with a dent in the passenger side door. He didn't fix the dent because fixing it would mean admitting he cared about what people thought. Marcus Webb was 42 years old. He was 6 foot 1 inch, 210 pounds. Salt and pepper hair he cut himself every 3 weeks with a $30 clipper set from Target. His hands were rough, his nails were clean, his smile was rare but real. Most people in Portland had no idea who Marcus Webb was. They walked past him on the street, they sat next to him on the bus, they handed him menus at restaurants and asked if he was ready to order. They assumed he was nobody. That was exactly how Marcus wanted it. He built Webb Holdings from nothing, not inherited wealth, not a rich uncle, nothing. He started washing dishes at a diner in Gresham when he was 16 years old. His single mother worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. Marcus watched her come home with cracked hands and swollen feet. She never complained, not once. When Marcus was 23, he saved $12,000. Every penny came from working double shifts and living in a studio apartment with a hot plate and no heat in the winter. He used that money to buy a small coffee cart. 1 cart, 1 employee, himself. People told him he was crazy. Coffee carts were everywhere in Portland. The market was saturated. He would fail. They were sure of it. Marcus listened, nodded. Then he worked harder. He learned every customer's name, every regular's order. He showed up at 4 a.m. and left at 7 p.m., 6 days a week, for 4 years. He reinvested everything. No vacations, no new clothes, no dates, just coffee, just service, just the quiet, relentless grind of a man who knew what it felt like to have nothing. By the time Marcus was 30, he had 7 coffee carts. By 33, he opened his first brick-and-mortar coffee shop in the Pearl District. He named it Ground Up because that's what he did. He built from the ground up. Now, at 42, Webb Holdings owned 43 commercial properties across Portland and Seattle, 12 coffee shops, a small real estate development firm, and a logistics company that delivered specialty coffee beans to 300 independent cafes in the Pacific Northwest. Marcus Webb was worth approximately $47 million. He still cut his own hair, still drove the dented truck, still lived in the same modest house he bought 7 years ago. He donated 70% of his income to homeless shelters and youth job training programs. He never put his name on anything, no plaques, no press releases, no interviews. He told his accountant once, "I don't need people to know my name. I need people to have a chance." That morning, the morning everything changed, Marcus was doing something he did every Tuesday. He was visiting his original ground-up location in the Pearl District, the one he opened 9 years ago. He liked to stand in line like a regular customer. He liked to watch his employees work. He liked to make sure the coffee was right, the service was kind, and the shop felt like a home. He wore his usual uniform, dark jeans, white button-down shirt under the navy peacoat, brown boots he had resoled 3 times. He looked like a construction foreman, or a retired mechanic, or anyone. He ordered a medium black coffee, no sugar, no cream. The barista, a young woman named Jasmine who had worked there for 2 years, handed him the cup. She smiled. She had no idea she was handing coffee to the man who owned her building, her paycheck, and the chair she was sitting on during her break. Marcus took his coffee. He turned toward the door. He didn't see the woman until it was too late.
Her name was Kelsey Morgan Thornton. She was 29 years old, blonde hair styled in that expensive way that costs $400 and looks like you woke up like that. Designer handbag, designer boots, designer sunglasses, even though it was February in Portland and the sky was gray as concrete. Kelsey worked as a junior marketing manager for a startup called Vantage AI. The startup rented the top 2 floors of the building that Ground Up occupied on the ground level. The building Marcus Webb owned. Kelsey did not know Marcus Webb. She did not know who owned the building. She did not know that her entire professional existence depended on a man who cut his own hair and drove a dented truck. What Kelsey knew was that she was late. She was always late. And when Kelsey was late, Kelsey was mean. Marcus stepped to the side. He didn't bump her. He didn't block her. He moved. But the shop was crowded. Tuesday morning rush, 30 people in line, 15 people waiting for drinks. The space between the counter and the door was narrow. Marcus moved left, Kelsey moved right. They were face to face for exactly 1 second. His coffee splashed, a small amount, maybe 2 tablespoons. It landed on the cuff of her white blouse. Marcus immediately apologized. "I am so sorry, that was completely my fault." He meant it. Even though it wasn't really his fault, even though she was walking fast, looking at her phone, not watching where she was going. Marcus was the kind of man who apologized first, because he knew that pride and anger had never built anything except walls. Kelsey looked down at her sleeve. Then she looked at Marcus. Then she did something that made the entire coffee shop go silent. She grabbed his coffee cup out of his hand. Before Marcus could react, before anyone could say a word, Kelsey raised the cup and poured the entire contents down the front of his chest. 200-degree coffee, directly onto his white shirt, directly onto his skin. Marcus felt the burn immediately. His chest turned red. His eyes watered. He did not cry. He did not yell. He did not beg. He stood there, silent, still. Kelsey's 2 friends appeared behind her. One was named Brittany, one was named Heather. They worked at Vantage AI, too. They were all late together. They were all mean together. Kelsey laughed, not a nervous laugh, a full, open-mouthed, theatrical laugh. She turned to her friends. "Did you see that? He just stood there like a statue." Brittany laughed. Heather laughed. A few strangers in the coffee shop laughed too. Not because it was funny, because laughter is contagious, and Kelsey's laughter was loud enough to infect the weak. Jasmine, the barista, froze behind the counter. Her hand hovered over a latte. She wanted to say something, she wanted to help, but Kelsey had already poured the coffee. The damage was done. Marcus looked down at his shirt. The coffee had soaked through to his skin. He could feel blisters forming. He did not touch his chest. He did not rush to the bathroom. He just breathed, slowly, deeply. Then he looked at Kelsey, not with anger, not with hatred, with something worse, with pity. "You don't know who I am," Marcus said quietly, "but you will." Kelsey rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, you're some homeless guy who saved up for a coffee. Go back to your shelter." Brittany snickered. Heather covered her mouth. Marcus didn't respond. He walked to the counter. He asked Jasmine for paper towels. Jasmine handed him a stack with shaking hands. He pressed them to his chest. The towels turned brown immediately. He walked to the door. He paused. He turned back to Kelsey one last time. "I hope this moment was worth your entire future." Then Marcus Webb walked out of his own coffee shop with second-degree burns on his chest and a quiet fire in his heart.
Marcus drove himself to the emergency room at Providence Portland Medical Center. He waited 45 minutes in the waiting room. He did not pull rank. He did not call his personal doctor. He sat in a plastic chair next to a man with a broken finger and a woman with a feverish toddler. A nurse named Dolores treated his burns, second degree. The coffee had been hot enough to blister. Dolores asked what happened. Marcus said he spilled coffee on himself. Dolores looked at his face. She knew he was lying. She didn't push. He was home by 1 p.m. He sat on his couch. He stared at the ceiling. He thought about Kelsey, not with revenge fantasies, with curiosity. Who was she? Why was she so angry? What made a person pour hot coffee on a stranger and laugh about it? Marcus pulled out his phone. He called his head of security, a former Army veteran named Derek Voss. Derek had worked for Marcus for 8 years. He knew everything about every property Webb Holdings owned. "Derek, the ground up in the Pearl, the tech company on the top 2 floors, Vantage AI. I need everything." Derek didn't ask why. He never asked why. "Give me 2 hours." Marcus spent those 2 hours thinking about his mother, Carla Webb. She died 6 years ago, lung cancer. She smoked for 40 years because stress was her only friend. Carla cleaned houses for rich people in Lake Oswego. She came home every night with bruises on her knees and bleach stains on her hands. One time, when Marcus was 12, a woman Carla worked for accused Carla of stealing a gold necklace. Carla didn't steal it. The necklace was in the jewelry box behind a pair of earrings, but the woman didn't apologize. She fired Carla. She told the cleaning service Carla was a thief. Carla lost 3 other clients because of that one lie. Marcus watched his mother cry that night. It was the only time he ever saw her cry. She wasn't crying about the money. She was crying about the injustice, about being poor and powerless and having no way to fight back. Marcus promised himself that night he would never be powerless, and he would never let power turn him into someone who made others feel small. Derek called back at 3:17 p.m. Kelsey Morgan Thornton, 29, born in Scottsdale, Arizona, graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in marketing, been at Vantage AI for 14 months. Before that, she worked at 2 other startups. Both let her go. One had a restraining order on her for harassing a coworker. Marcus was quiet. Restraining order? Filed by a woman named Priya Krishnamurthy. Priya claimed Kelsey sabotaged her presentation, stole her client leads, then called her a racial slur in front of the entire office. The company settled with Priya for $40,000. Kelsey was fired 2 weeks later. No charges were filed because Priya just wanted to leave. Marcus closed his eyes. What about Vantage AI? They're struggling. Their burn rate is high. Their Series B funding fell through last month. They have maybe 6 months of runway left. And here's the interesting part. Derek paused. They're 3 months behind on rent for the Pearl District, the office. That's your building, Marcus. They owe Webb Holdings $112,000. Marcus opened his eyes. He looked at the blisters on his chest. He thought about Kelsey laughing. He thought about his mother crying. "Send me the lease agreement," Marcus said. "And Derek, keep this between us. Always." Marcus hung up. He went to his home office. He pulled out a legal pad. He wrote 3 words: patience, precision, public. Marcus didn't confront Kelsey the next day, or the next week. He didn't call Vantage AI. He didn't send a letter. He didn't post anything on social media. He waited. That's the thing about quiet power. It doesn't rush. It watches. It learns. It waits for the perfect moment. Over the next 3 weeks, Marcus Webb did 4 things. First, he had Derek install additional security cameras in the ground-up coffee shop. Not hidden cameras, visible ones, big ones, the kind that made people look up and remember they were being recorded. Second, he reviewed every piece of correspondence between Webb Holdings and Vantage AI. He learned that Kelsey was not involved in the rent negotiations. She was just a junior marketing manager. She had no idea the building was owned by the man she poured coffee on. She had no idea her company was drowning in debt. Third, Marcus quietly purchased the debt of two of Vantage AI's largest vendors, a coffee supplier and an office furniture leasing company. He did this through a shell company called Cascade Management Group. No one knew Cascade was Marcus Webb, not even Derek. Fourth, Marcus went back to Ground Up every Tuesday, same time, same order, medium black coffee. He wore a different jacket, a black bomber jacket that covered his healing burns. He sat in the corner, he watched, he waited for Kelsey to come back. She didn't, not for 3 weeks. On the fourth Tuesday, she walked in. Kelsey looked different, not better, different. Her hair was messier, her clothes were less expensive, her eyes had dark circles underneath. She ordered a large caramel latte with oat milk, extra whip. She paid with a credit card that declined twice before she used a different one. Marcus watched from the corner. He sipped his black coffee. He said nothing. Kelsey got her latte. She turned to leave. Then she saw him. Recognition flickered across her face, then annoyance, then something that looked almost like fear. "You," she said. Not loud, just loud enough for Marcus to hear. Marcus nodded. "Me." Kelsey looked around. The coffee shop was half full. A few people were watching. Jasmine was at the register. Her eyes went wide when she saw Marcus and Kelsey in the same room. "You're not going to cause a scene, are you?" Kelsey said. Her voice was shaking, just a little. Marcus stood up. He was taller than her by 6 inches. He didn't loom. He didn't threaten. He just stood. "I don't cause scenes," Marcus said. "I cause consequences." Kelsey's face went pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then she walked out of the coffee shop without another word. Her latte sloshed over the side of her cup. She didn't notice. Marcus sat back down. He finished his coffee. He smiled, not a happy smile, a patient smile. The trap was set. Now he just needed her to walk into it. 3 more weeks passed. Marcus received a letter from Vantage AI's CEO, a man named Braden Cross. The letter requested a meeting to discuss the overdue rent. Braden didn't know Marcus owned the building. He thought he was meeting with a property manager named Mr. Webb. Marcus agreed to the meeting. He requested it be held at the Ground Up coffee shop, in the private back room that was usually reserved for staff training. Braden agreed. He had no reason to say no. The meeting was set for Thursday at 10 a.m. Marcus arrived at 9:30. He wore the same navy pea coat, the same white button-down shirt, the same brown boots. His burns had healed. There were scars now, small pink marks on his chest. He didn't hide them. He didn't show them either. They were just there, like everything else. At 9:45, Braden Cross arrived with 2 people. His CFO, a woman named Marlene Okonkwo, and Kelsey, Morgan Thornton. Marcus almost laughed. Kelsey was holding a tablet. She was taking notes. She had no idea why she was there. Braden had probably brought her because she was young and cheap, and he needed someone to carry the coffee. Braden walked into the private room. He extended his hand. "Mr. Webb? Braden Cross. Thank you for meeting with us." Marcus shook his hand, firm, brief. "Thank you for coming." Kelsey froze in the doorway. Her tablet slipped. It didn't fall, but it slipped. Her mouth opened. Her eyes went wide. She recognized the navy pea coat, the white shirt, the calm face. "You?" she whispered. Braden turned around. "Kelsey? Do you know Mr. Webb?" Kelsey couldn't speak. She just stared at Marcus. Her face was the color of old paper. Marcus smiled, not cruelly, not kindly either, just finally. "Miss Thornton and I have met," Marcus said. "She poured hot coffee on my chest and laughed about it 7 weeks ago, right here in this building, in front of 15 witnesses." Braden's face went through 5 emotions in 3 seconds: confusion, disbelief, horror, anger, then a kind of cold, professional dread. Marlene Okonkwo pulled out her phone. She started recording. Marcus didn't stop her. He wanted this recorded. "Is that true, Kelsey?" Braden asked. His voice was quiet, the quiet of a man who knew his company was about to die. Kelsey looked at Braden, then at Marlene, then at Marcus. Her face opened and closed like a fish on a dock. He got in my way," Kelsey finally said. "He spilled coffee on my shirt first." Marcus shook his head. "That's not what the security cameras show. I have footage, audio too. You can hear yourself laughing." Kelsey's eyes filled with tears, not sorry tears, scared tears. There's a difference. "I didn't know who you were," Kelsey said, her voice cracked. If you had known I was rich, you would have treated me like a human being," Marcus interrupted. "That's worse. That's not an excuse. That's a confession." Braden sat down. He put his head in his hands. Marlene kept recording. Kelsey stood in the doorway like a ghost who hadn't realized she was dead yet. Marcus pulled out a folder. He placed it on the table. "Mr. Cross, your company owes Webb Holdings $112,000 in back rent, plus late fees, plus the cost of the security upgrades I had to install after Miss Thornton's behavior created a liability risk." Braden looked up. "How much?" $147,000, due in full within 30 days, or I terminate your lease and evict Vantage AI from this building." Kelsey spoke. She shouldn't have. "You can't do that. That's retaliation. That's illegal." Marcus turned to her. For the first time, there was something sharp in his eyes. "You poured boiling liquid on a stranger's skin and laughed, and you want to talk about what's illegal." Kelsey stepped back. She hit the doorframe. Marcus turned back to Braden. "I'm not asking for anything unreasonable. Pay what you owe and fire Ms. Thornton today. Those are my terms." Braden looked at Kelsey, then at Marcus, then at Marlene. Marlene nodded, just once. "Consider it done," Braden said. Kelsey screamed, actually screamed, a raw, animal sound that echoed off the coffee shop walls. People in the main seating area turned their heads. Jasmine, the barista, peeked through the door. Marcus saw her. He nodded. She backed away. "You can't do this," Kelsey yelled. "I'll sue. I'll go to the press. I'll tell everyone you're a monster who ruins people's lives." Marcus stood up. He walked to Kelsey. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see the tears on her cheeks, close enough to smell her expensive perfume. "Go to the press," Marcus said. "Tell them you poured hot coffee on a stranger. Tell them you laughed. Tell them you only felt bad when you found out he owned your building. See how that works out for you." Kelsey opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Marcus stepped back. "Security will escort you out. Your final paycheck will be mailed to your apartment. I suggest you use it to pay for the therapy you clearly need." 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. Derek had called them 10 minutes ago. Derek always knew. Kelsey looked at Marcus one last time. Her eyes were red. Her mascara was running. She looked small, smaller than she had looked in the coffee shop 7 weeks ago, smaller than she had looked when she was laughing. "I hope this moment was worth your entire future," Marcus said. The second time he had said those words. This time, they landed differently. Kelsey walked out. The security guards followed. The door closed behind her. Braden Cross stood up. He shook Marcus's hand again. "I am so sorry. I had no idea. She seemed so competent in her interviews." Marcus pulled his hand back. "Competent people don't need to be cruel. Remember that when you hire her replacement." Braden nodded. He and Marlene left. The room was quiet. Marcus sat down alone. He looked at the pink scars on his chest. He thought about his mother. He thought about the gold necklace that wasn't stolen. He thought about all the Kelseys in the world who laughed at people they thought were beneath them. He didn't feel happy. He didn't feel satisfied. He felt something simpler. He felt seen.
The video Marlene recorded went viral within 48 hours, not because Marcus posted it, because Marlene did. She posted it on her private Instagram. A friend of a friend leaked it to a local news reporter. By Monday morning, Ground Up Coffee incident was trending on social media. Kelsey Morgan Thornton became the face of corporate cruelty. Her LinkedIn was screenshotted and shared. Her previous restraining order was uncovered by internet detectives. The two startups that fired her released statements confirming her behavior. She tried to fight back. She posted a video on TikTok claiming she was the real victim. She said Marcus was a rich man who ruined her life over a misunderstanding. The comment section destroyed her. 4,000 comments, not one in her favor. She deleted the video after 6 hours. Then she deleted all her social media. Then she disappeared from public view. A reporter found her 2 months later working at a department store in Scottsdale, Arizona. She was folding sweaters. She refused to comment. Vantage AI paid their debt. They fired Braden Cross 3 months after that, not because of Kelsey, because the company was failing. The Series B funding never came. They moved out of Marcus's building 6 months later. A nonprofit youth center moved in. Marcus gave them the first year rent-free. Marcus Webb didn't change. He still woke up at 4:47 a.m., still drove the dented truck, still cut his own hair, still donated most of his money, still stood in line at Ground Up every Tuesday and ordered a medium black coffee. Jasmine, the barista, got promoted to store manager. She didn't know Marcus was the owner until after the video came out. She cried when she found out, not because she was scared, because she realized the kindest customer she ever served was the same man who owned everything. Marcus called Jasmine into his office one day. Not the fancy office in the high-rise, the back room of the coffee shop. He offered her a scholarship to business school, full tuition, plus a job when she graduated. Jasmine asked why. Marcus said, because someone helped my mother once, a long time ago, and I promised myself I would pay it forward. He didn't tell her the rest of the story, about the woman who helped Carla Webb, a woman named Gloria who lent Carla $500 when Marcus was 14. $500 to fix their broken furnace in the middle of winter. Gloria was a waitress. She didn't have $500 to lend. She lent it anyway. Carla paid her back, every penny, over 6 months. Gloria never charged interest. She just said, when you can help someone else, do it. Marcus helped Jasmine. Jasmine helped her little brother get into community college. Her little brother helped his best friend escape an abusive home. The chain continued. It always continues. Kindness is the only thing that grows when you give it away. Marcus Webb never told his story publicly. He never did interviews, never wrote a book, never went on a podcast. He just kept showing up, kept working, kept being kind, kept being calm. But everyone in Portland knew his name now. They pointed at the dented Ford F-150 and whispered, "That's him. That's the coffee guy." They held doors for him. They smiled when he walked by. They bought coffee from Ground Up not because it was good, though it was, but because they wanted to support a man who proved that quiet wins every time. And on the wall of every Ground Up location, behind the counter, in a simple black frame, there is a quote. Marcus wrote it himself. It's not about coffee. It's not about business. It's about what happened on that Tuesday morning in February. The quote says, "Be careful who you pour your cruelty on. You never know whose future you're standing in the way of." Kelsey Morgan Thornton learned that lesson. She learned it in the worst way possible. She learned it in front of cameras and lawyers and a man who didn't raise his voice once. She never recovered, not really. She works retail now. She lives in a small apartment. She has no friends from her old life. The laughter stopped a long time ago. Marcus doesn't think about her.
He has coffee to make, employees to mentor, a city to take care of. He has his mother's memory and Gloria's example, and a dented truck that reminds him every day that wealth is not what you own, it's who you become. He became someone his mother would be proud of, and that is the only victory that matters. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to remember that kindness isn't weakness, it's the strongest weapon there is. And subscribe to this channel for more stories where the quiet ones win and the loud ones learn. Sometimes the best revenge is a life well lived. Sometimes it's a medium black coffee and a long memory. Marcus Webb knew both.